I know we have standing room only. What a wonderful problem to have. Welcome to the very first Doctor of Nursing Practice ceremony, celebrating you, the first cohort ever of the DNP and the first doctoral program at Wagner College. And I know we said a few of these things earlier, but many of you were not here for the presentations. So it really is a genuinely auspicious occasion. And I think Dr. Garassi, who could not be here tonight, would be ever so proud, as would our advisory, particularly Dr. Fagan, who was quoted in Dr. Garassi's Christmas card. And I always love what she said. She's one of our dear alums who has led so many in higher ed and in nursing. And she always says that education gives you the knowledge to make a difference in the world. And I thought about that when I got Richard's card, because I thought, what a better way of making a difference in the world than to graduate students in a practice doctorate whose total focus is population health and disaster preparedness. And I do believe that you all, your presentations have been wonderful. I can't wait to read the rest of the papers, so because you have to have 3 readers, make sure you get them to us ASAP, the ones I don't have. And we are just so proud of you in every way. We're also so proud of your faculty. That is an interdisciplinary faculty, which our accreditors loved, by the way. And since we'll be going through the candidacy process after the second cohort out there graduates, finishes their degree completion requirements in December, next December, I think that's going to be something that will be a great asset. And I'd like for those of you that are not in nursing and at first to raise your hand. Some of you are already standing. Lisa, Dunn, John, who else? Please stand if you're an interdisciplinary faculty member, not a nurse. Tony, yes. Anybody else out there? These are faculties and administrators in their own right who are so accomplished in their own professions, who have offered to help educate our first doctoral cohort at Wagner College. And I was going to recognize also Dr. Krause. I don't believe he was able to be here, but he was also instrumental in the institutional effectiveness site visit, as was Dr. Dorothy Davidson, who's our retired dean of the library. I miss her so much, but Dennis has been a great person to follow her. She was also instrumental in all of the databases. Dr. Ahern, I feel so sad that she could not be here, and texted her that picture right away, but her brother had major surgery today in New York, and she just could not, not be with him. I know how that is. I had an only brother, and I know how it is to have an only sibling. So they're very, very close, and I don't think there's anything she could have wanted more than to see each of you here tonight. But Lee and John will make sure that she gets everything that we see and hear here, she'll be able to see. So we wish him well and her well. She's just been a great graduate director, and she sort of headed up all of these wonderful capstone projects that you're hearing about. The other person, of course, I have to recognize is the biostatistician, because I felt like we got a review. Took that course myself, and I have to say, I thought I took psychometrics at Rutgers and was the hardest course I'd ever take, but Don has a pretty hard biostats course. And Katie gave a review of it tonight to the audience. So thank you, Katie. Anyway, John and Lisa and Tony, we really appreciate you all being here. Nancy has been a great DNP coordinator. When I appointed her, she looked at me and I said, Nancy, you only do 10,000 things. You'll be great. You're our first DNP from PACE. And every time I see Harriet, their provost and dean, I always say to her, and I had lunch with her last week in New York, at the Jonas Luncheon, and she always wishes you well, and you're such a great addition to our faculty. Thank you. Nancy's one of those folks that, you know, if you want something done, she's got 10,000 other things to do, but you always ask the person that has 10,000 other things to do, and they'll do it. Our staff, I really want to recognize. Some of you may not know that we had a transformer explosion in Campus Hall last week, and an underground cable that sort of went bad as well. So even though we don't have a home, it didn't matter because everyone at the college has been tremendously generous. Lily McNair, our provost, called my office manager right away. And Kathy and Lynn in the office have been taken care of by the library, by admissions, by Dennis has offered so many areas of the library to everyone. We've just been welcomed with open arms everywhere. And IT was so great. So we're going to get through this, and Lee communicated every detail, every step of the way. So, but I really wish to thank my faculty and the students at all levels, because that's quite, you know, could be a great inconvenience at finals time, and everyone just rallying. So it shows you what Wagner College is all about. We can do lots of things in a disaster, and we didn't need the DMP class actually, so we were prepared. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, the Doctor of Nursing Practice is a practice doctorate. And that means that in the past, we did not have a way for nurses who practiced, like many of you who are nationally boarded as family nurse practitioners. What do? Do we go get a PhD? How is that going to help us take better care of our patients and our populations, right? So the Doctor of Nursing Practice was created in 2004 in Washington, D.C. I was actually there for the vote. I voted against it, along with the Dean of UPenn, and it was a bare majority. It almost didn't pass, because many people felt it threatened PhD programs. And, but by the same token, there were people who headed up hospitals and all sorts of healthcare organizations that needed a degree, a practice degree, a terminal degree. And they needed to be able to do research and make a difference in populations. And so, having said that, I came right back here and told Dr. Ahern, I think we need to do the DMP. I'm not for it, but we need to do it. And she goes, don't mention it, don't mention it. Well, then Claire Fagan told Richard Garassi one day that we needed a DMP, so that was it. Dr. Fagan is like world renowned in nursing. On our advisory was the first woman president of an Ivy League school and is a graduate of ours. So with that, we went to the state. We went through an institutional site visit to offer a doctorate. And we got through it, and then Kathy and I and faculty wrote the curriculum. It was approved. And here we are. Hard to believe that just in 4 years, we've come this far. And we've already had the first cohort. We already have the third cohort, and we have 2 Jonas Scholars, which is almost unheard of. And we have a Jonas Scholar sitting in our audience also from Rutgers, who's on our faculty. I can't see her, but, oh, there she is, Dr. Dallin Castronova. So she is a mentor also to our students. So, with that little bit of history, what I will tell you is that I am so very proud to be a part of Wagner and of nursing. And everyone here is not only my friend, but my colleague. And that's the great thing about this doctoral class. They're colleagues. They teach for us. We have 50-some part-time adjunct faculty, many of whom have taught for us full-time, like Pat, who's coming back mercifully to nursing. We need her. And many of you, I hope, will be transitioning and giving us your talent as well. So, timely enough, the American Nurses Credentialing Center, which is part of the American Nurses Association and the most prestigious credentialing center out there, this spring is first offering ever the disaster boarding, which I hope many of you will take that board. And I think that would be a great way, because the jobs is starting, I just saw one posted for disaster and simulation. So I really wish all of you just the very, very best. And now what I'm going to do is introduce first Dr. McNair, who is our Provost Leader of Academic Affairs, and has been so supportive of this program and of nursing. Whenever I go to her and say, Dr. McNair, we need an admissions liaison, we need a clinical coordinator, we need this, we need that, she goes back and asks the president and the board and is very supportive. And she comes from a clinical background herself before going into academia, so I think she sees the need, and that's a very positive thing. So Dr. McNair would like to offer words, and then after that we will have Dr. Forty. Come on up, Laura.
And I need to not stand behind the podium. I can't tell you how proud I am and how thrilled I am to be honoring our first inaugural cohort of DNP recipients at Wagner College. We have been working on this for a while, and you are all so very, very deserving. Dean Capello has remarked on the situation in Campus Hall that occurred last week. Who could have thought? On the first day of finals, I get a phone call at 6:23 a.m. I remember, 6:23 a.m. from Joe Romano. You know that's bad. He's the VP of administration. Uh-oh, yeah. But if Joe calls at 6:23 a.m., you know there's a crisis. He said a transformer went out that provides all the power to Campus Hall. First day of finals, less than a week ago, but the nursing faculty and students and staff did not miss a beat. And here we are celebrating and honoring our first DNP class. What does that tell you about our School of Nursing and the Wagner community? And she, no sweat, nothing. She just said, well, this is what the plan is. If I have to, I'll go to Staples. I will make these programs. And I had every confidence that nothing would stand in the way. So I am just so proud of you all, so proud of the Wagner community. And it is such a remarkable testament to the value of our School of Nursing and the connection to our community that we have a packed space here with family, with friends, with community members, with our colleagues and faculty from all over Staten Island and beyond. So I am just so proud to bring congratulations from President Garassi, who's not here today. He would be here if he could. But he's out of the country on college business. He's been gone all week, and he wanted me to share his most hearty and heartfelt congratulations to each and every one of you. The Spiro family is another family we need to acknowledge. Evelyn Linford Spiros, after whom the School of Nursing is named, her husband Don Spiro, and their daughter Kimberly Spiro, who is on our Board of Trustees and a member of the Nursery Advisory Board. I'd like to thank all of you for that. I've just been so impressed by the level of scholarship and the impact of this work on the world around us. We knew when we were preparing this program, when we talked about its focus on disaster preparedness and population health, who would have known that all of these dissertations would be so interdisciplinary, would reflect the very cogent coherent assimilation of literatures from different disciplinary perspectives, and that would have an impact on policy at the state and federal, and I would dare say, ultimately global levels, recommendations for training and curriculum for nursing and other health professionals, and that would have an impact on licensure and on the lives of individuals, families, and communities. You all have done so much to make a difference in the world, as our dear friend and supporter, Dr. Claire Fagan, would say. And she, I know, is very proud of all of the work that you do. You're raising awareness, you are addressing voids in the literature, you're addressing voids in the clinical as well as research literature. And just from the brief conversation and discussion that we had, it's clear that you are setting a high standard and your work is going to lead to even more research and clinical impact and outcomes. What more could we want as faculty than to see you blaze that trail as you begin this next step of your careers? Congratulations to each and every one of you. I look forward to reading your dissertations after your faculty finish reading them. Dr. Sharofsky has them all in her car. She is the holder of the dissertations. We are going to make sure they're safe, and I look forward to reading them and talking with them, with you about your research work. Congratulations again.
So once again, Dr. McNair, thank you for those wonderful words. And I did forget that Kim Spiro really wanted me from the Spiro family. I should have mentioned her, and I feel badly that I didn't. They've been so generous in hopes of digging ground for our new building. So for those of you who don't know, we not only have a School of Nursing, we just passed in the faculty meeting, there will be a School of Business also represented in that building, which will be across the way on the hill. Well, who I did not recognize were our faculty in nursing who taught in the Doctor of Nursing practice. So I don't want to leave them out, so please stand. I know that at least two of you are here, Dr. Falk and Dr. McVey. And many others. And Nancy and I also taught, so with Lisa and everyone else. So we had a great time doing it. It was just like being with friends. And doing evidence-based practice together. I promised Kathy I would use the word evidence-based also. Just make sure you tell her. Their capstone projects were all evidence-based, if you saw that. All with the literature review, all PICO standards. So thank you for that. And between epidemiology, health policy, ethics, and biostats, we feel much more ready for the populations of the world, and it is global now. Everything is global. We actually have 2 student reps to the UN in our master's program, so we're very proud of that as well. Anyway, not to keep you further, because it is warm here, and we're happy to open the door if you'd like. We have with us Dr. Frank Forty, who I hope will come forward. Dr. Forty, I have the privilege of serving on Board of Trustees with him at the Medical Center. And I don't think it's me alone, but I actually look forward to the quality meetings because I love to hear Frank speak. Frank could just speak on anything, and I would love it. He loves his cancer patients, and they love him. He is just a physician for all times. And I say that in a really genuine way, Dr. Forty, because I think everyone looks forward to hearing anything that comes out of your mouth. We feel much better, and we feel particularly honored that you said yes to Dr. Ahern, who, they work wonderfully together, research and everything else. So we thank you for offering words at our first ceremony. So come on up and take as long as you like.
It's truly my honor to be here tonight, to see you all and to watch, but I was going to tell a joke but Paula told me that I had to tell my favorite joke, even though many of you may have heard it before. So, because this is going to be serious, so I wanted to start off at least a little light. And because I do palliative care, I do a lot of talk about illness and dying. So I want to tell you the story about the cat died. These two guys were talking on the phone, two brothers, one in California, one in New York. And one said to the other, he said, by the way, how's the cat doing? And his brother said, oh, the cat died. He said, wait, you can't say that to me. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, the cat died. He said, what do you want me to say? He said, yeah, but it's say it like that, you'll give me a heart attack or a stroke or something. Because you got to break it gradual. He said, what do you mean? He said, you know, you got to say something like, you know, the cat went for a walk on the roof today. And it was very windy out, and he was near the edge. And his little paws started to teeter-totter. And I ran toward him as fast as I could. But before I got there, he fell. And I ran downstairs as fast as I could, and I picked him up in my arms. And I carried him all the way to the vet. And the vet worked on him for hours. But you know, the cat died. At least this way you give me a little chance to prepare. He said, geez, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He said, forget it now. He said, by the way, how's Mama? He said, you know, Mama went for a walk on the roof. So, from now on, we'll be a little bit serious, okay, I promise. And as I said, it's really my pleasure and my honor to be here tonight. I was thinking about what all this means for you guys and what it is. Think of what you're going to be, or have to be. You're bright, you're helpful, you're professional, you're going to be clinicians, but as importantly, you're going to be educators. And I think the latter of those is probably the single most important thing. Now, I know many of you are educators already, but remember that what you impart to other people is probably the most important thing in the world. I watch every day people who are treated. And, you know, let me tell you, I think that the job of a professional, as we all are, particularly in healthcare, is threefold. It's beneficence, and part of that is non-maleficence, which means doing good for your patients and not doing harm. It also has to do with confidentiality, which means not sharing things that shouldn't be shared. And there's a third part that I think that we oftentimes forget as individual professionals, but I think that we all have to remember. And that's social justice. Because social justice says that my obligation is not only to my patient, but also to society. We have limited amount of finances, we have a limited amount of things that we can do, and squandering those takes away from the ability to care for others. So I would remind you that as professionals, those are the most important things that we can possibly do. I think, though, as professionals, we're also clinicians. I was happy to say to hear Dr. Trapello talk about the clinical practice, because I think that's really what it's all about. I mean, I do a lot of administration, but my joy is in caring for patients. My joy is in taking care of people. And I want to leave you with a thought that I promise I will say at least 3 times before I'm done in this few minutes. We're professionals. We learn oftentimes you can open a book and learn to treat a disease. I'm old. See, I said open a book. You can go to Google, you can go to In fact, in medical school, and I'm sure in nursing school, what we learned, the first year I learned was about the normal body. The second year I learned about diseases of that body. And then the third and fourth year, for those of you who've had experience in hospitals, you know that everyone's sent off onto the wards to take care of people. And there's a presumption that's made when we do that clinical part of medicine, and that presumption that's made is we're going to learn how to care for people. Because you see, the first part of training is taking care of diseases. That, to me, as an educator, I think is the most important point you can get across. That we, as professionals in healthcare, don't take care of illnesses. We take care of people with illnesses. So I'll tell you a couple of things that drive me nuts. Picking on my nurses. Now, anyone who works with me knows that I never pick on nurses. Except for one or two small things. So my one bugaboo is when I say to a nurse, "Is Mrs. Jones here?" And she says, "Oh, 322? Sure." I mean, I wouldn't want to be called 322. I wouldn't want to be called fat old guy. Why did you laugh, Pat? I certainly wouldn't want to be called a gallbladder in 18. And yet, that's what we do without thinking. Now, and again, I protect my nurses because I know the nurses have a hard job because they have a very rapid turnover. So it's hard to remember. But I think that you want to make sure that when you treat patients, when you do clinical work, that clinical work is related to that person. Not everybody's treated the same. You know, my first 25 years in practice, I was an oncologist. But in the last 15 years, my clinical practice has been strictly palliative medicine. For those of you who don't know what palliative medicine is, it looks not at the disease, but rather at the person, and says, how can we help this person with symptom management, helping them to navigate the difficult healthcare climate, help them to establish the goals that they need, and generally to help them and do what's most appropriate. I lecture all the time to the residents in the intensive care unit, and one of the things that I say to them all the time, and I want to make that clear, I bet there are 2 or 3 people in this intensive care unit right now, right this minute, that you know are going to die. That they're never going to make it out of this hospital. And it's sad, but it's true. But the saddest thing is that we're doing the same thing to those people and causing as much harm and damage and suffering by trying to help them in a time when we know that they're not helpable, as we are with the people we expect to get better. So every person is an individual. Every person needs to be treated as an individual, and not every person needs to have the same cookbook open to look at. As educators, you really have to be able to teach that. It's hard. It's very hard because it's much easier to say, well, this is right. You know, we talked about Dr. Ahern's favorite statement. What was it?
Evidence-based.
Evidence-based medicine, right? And that's true. It's true. But, you know, a lot of the things that we do aren't evidence-based. A lot of the things that we do because the guy before us did it. And we presumed it was correct, but it's not always. So when I was growing up in medicine, people looked at medicine as the book. Medicine was very paternalistic. You didn't ask patients what they wanted, you did what you thought was right. Medicine has shifted. Medicine has become much more a shared decision-making process. And in order to share decisions, the only way we can do that is by educating the people who we're caring for, the patients. So my role, and I hope your role, has shifted somewhat. Because I'm an educator, But I'm not an educator only of my residents, I'm also an educator of my patients, because I think it's very, very vitally important that patients understand where they are and have the right. And we don't like to do that, I gotta tell you, right? None of us like that. Why? Because we're all nice people. I really hate to say bad things. If I don't tell the truth, though, then people are gonna make decisions to do things that they wouldn't make if they knew the truth. I'll give you an example. As I said, my prior life was an oncologist. I still pick on my oncology brethren because one of the things I'll sometimes say in people who unfortunately are going to die soon because their disease is so far advanced and they've used up all the treatments there are, that everyone knows that there's nothing left to do but make them comfortable, let them live the best life they can for the time they have. And yet, I hear the oncologist saying, we're waiting until you get stronger and then we'll treat you. You've all heard that, right? Sounds nice. But what does that do? It makes people then fight to get stronger when they're never going to get stronger. This is the strongest day they ever are going to have for the rest of their lives. And they do things then that aren't going to help and cause them discomfort, pain, suffering, when in fact they should be devoting the rest of the time they have to living the best life they can. We don't do that. If you teach that and you learn and you get nothing else out of what I said and you believe it, that's great. You're also researchers, that's wonderful. And I think that evidence-based medicine is very important. As I say, much of the stuff that we've done in the past hasn't been. Someone said that if you wait 10 years and look, 50% of all the things you learned will not be true. And that in itself may be a true statement. But the point in fact is that in order to move forward, we need to look to see the appropriate things. You guys then are not only educators, not only clinicians, but also scientists. I mean, what more could we possibly want from a group of people if you guys could fulfill any one of those, let alone all three? The only comment that I want to make about where you are is population health. I think that's vitally important. Just if I can close with this, I just want to remind you that a population is made up of many, many people. God bless you all. Good luck.
Frank, before you go, we couldn't stop you. We were going to hug you and give you something. He doesn't take money. Thank you so much. Well, we'll have a drink. Thank you. And I also want to say Dr. Anthony Ferreira, and I forgot to recognize Dan Messina, who is the CEO at Rumsey, also teaches in our program. Please tell me if you're here because I could easily miss you. What? No, Anthony's here. But I recognized him, but they teach a policy course together, health policy, which is fascinating. And Tom is, we just talked, Tom Morrow is our disaster planning person. Certified in everything. And he's actually teaching, or with his cohort tonight. And I had the pleasure of teaching with him one semester. We're hoping to get him on faculty somehow. But I made him promise that he would come up and help Nancy give the pens. So if Tom Morrow could come up, he is our disaster guru, and he started by teaching disaster preparedness to our RN to BS cohort and getting them certified. And he's given so many opportunities to the Doctor of Nursing Practice cohort. And we really appreciate all your time. And since Dr. McNair is still here, she will work with us somehow. We're going to somehow promise Dr. Ahern. We really do want to. No pressure at all. but somehow to get you as a continuing part of our faculty because you do so much. And so we really do appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Forty, for those wonderful words, and some of that brought me back to Dr. Venisi's course, that it's not just populations, it's always people and persons who make up that population and individuals, and we have to consider each and every one of them, and you made us think a lot about those decisions. So, I am going to turn the ceremony now over to Dr. Nancy Sharofsky. These are not official certificates, but they're wonderful little printouts that you get to carry around with these beautiful pens, and I really want to say that Sigma Theta Tau, many of you may not know that we have our own Epsilon U chapter that Nancy heads up, and it is an international honorary nursing society. Many people do not know that, but we decided that we would share nursing and Sigma, graciously decided to share this event, the cost of this event. And I think it is very worthwhile. And I want to thank Nancy for persisting to have a special ceremony. So with that, this will conclude as each of you are brought up. And don't forget, I promised Lee that I would say, after you get your pens, which you can wear on your new jackets, and your little certificate, and you'll get a real certificate framed later. You really need to stand here without your family and have Lee and John make sure that you're individually photographed. And it will not need, you will not need to all jump up and take a picture because those pictures will be available to each of you. It will be a professional photo. And again, thank you to the folks at Wagner doing this. Have a wonderful festive occasion with the food being served afterwards. And congratulations to all of my dear friends. May you be so successful. Sure.
I just wanted to say one thing personally to all of you who I feel like are children. Sigma, this was a great thing that Sigma and the nursing program decided to honor all of you. I think I'm going to go back to something Dr. Forty said. He actually was kind enough to treat my mother-in-law who had pancreatic cancer. And I'll never forget one thing he said to her. There will never be a December 14th, 2016 day again. You'll never have this day again. There'll never be a do-over. And because of that, you should look back on everything that you've done and really congratulate yourselves. I have to be honest with you. You should really give yourself that. I think what's most important, all of you have a reputation, whether it's in your institution or in your community, and it's what, either he or she, what a person thinks of you, oh, he's good, she's good, that's your reputation. But I think it's your character that's more important, and your character really is more behind closed doors. You can't really shape a bad character, but to have a good character is something that you really, you have to work at. And all of you, I have to say in this room, I am really honored. All of you have the best character as people and as professionals, and I'm just so honored that you're the first cohort that's graduating. And I'm going to stop here. Thank you. Dean Capello, and yes, and myself and Tom are going to pin you and give you a scroll, and Lori's going to help give you the box that your pin will go in. Hopefully you'll wear it though, okay? Please wear it, okay? Thank you. Are you going to call? Okay, you.
Tom's not paying anyone. Tom will call. I'm clumsy. Valbona Avdija.
That's his wife.
Valbona's project was developing a book to help parents who are disabled that have children how to manage on a day-to-day basis, and it's a very personal experience for her. She did a wonderful job, and that's her family with her.
Kathleen A. Campos-Gätjens.
Can we get a picture with our family? Sure. Come on up. Yeah. My mom's a faculty member for 35 years.
I said,
Good.
yeah, that's
One, two, three, and do one more. 1, 2, 3. Wait. Perfect.
Margaret Canjura.
Very prominent.
Jessica A. Cerulli.
Jessica had 2 children while in the program, and she has 4 children.
Can I just say it's her 4th, and we tell her she has a chronic issue.
Diana E. Coseglia-Danna. Kathleen F. Francis.
We go back a long way. Kathy and I went to high school together.
Dina Gamegna. Nina M. Maresca.
Nina runs our Chinle, Arizona Navajo Indian Reservation course and is doing oral dental hygiene and education with that population.
Cindy M. Powell McVey.
Anne Marie, would you like to get a picture of Cindy after? If we could get one picture of the Jonas Scholar and the other Jonas Scholar, would be great.
Kathleen Oberfeldt. Patricia Tucker.
No more school. Baby boy. No more stool. Promise. Promise.
We got everybody, right?
May I present
Are we done?
Got everybody.
the DNP graduating class of 2016.